Betty Barnes never saw herself as the best bowler in the room, but it was clear she was often the one who cared the most.
I guess the toughest part is when I was quoted, when I first started out, and then I asked why, and they said because WIBC said that's the way it is, and then when you looked it up, really, they didn't say that, the rule book didn't say that. So the more you got into the rule book and found out how you could improve things by the rules, that's where we went.
By challenging the status quo, Betty Barnes made her mark. She was named Reno Sparks Women's Bowling Association president, and it wasn't long before the city of Reno made some big plans for the sport of bowling. After the Women's Championships tournament came to Reno in 1988, Betty helped lead the charge to put a national bowling stadium in her hometown.
Well, I think the groundbreaking was one of the best too. And you knew that this was going to happen, and you had people coming up from California just to see the groundbreaking. And then when you saw these model that this is what it was going to be, and then when it did open, it was wonderful.
And that's when Betty became more than just an association leader or board member. She became the heart and soul of women's bowling at its grandest new stage.
My memories of the WIBC annual meeting begin and end with Betty Barnes. The meeting was ready to begin when Betty proudly walked down the center aisle carrying the flag to start us all off and leading the board of directors into the meeting. Throughout the meeting, Betty was on the floor, dealing with the delegates, visiting with people that she clearly loved, and just keeping control of the entire meeting and keeping us all going, keeping us on the right track.
She is the penultimate example of service to the United States Bowling Congress, in that not only is she a great volunteer, but she manages to corral volunteers because she never takes no for an answer, and it's impossible to say no to Betty Barnes. So you end up doing volunteer work at many events and tournaments at the National Bowling Stadium because of Betty Barnes.
Betty has watched the Women's Championships come through a half-dozen times, World Championships, senior events, you name it. Already a member of the Reno and Nevada WBA Halls of Fame, now the call comes from USBC to take her place among the greatest bowlers of all time.
It's a great feeling, and I led so many of them down the center aisle when I was Sergeant at Arms, and it's just a great feeling. You wonder if you really contributed as much as they did, but it's wonderful.